It was a morning that looked ordinary, the kind of morning where nothing feels urgent. The California sun was slow to rise, warm light spilling across the marble floors of a nearly silent home. Mauricio Umansky poured coffee the same way he always did, 1 spoon of sugar, a swirl of cream, and that small, practiced pause before the first sip. But that morning, something felt different. His phone buzzed once, twice, then again, a reminder from the doctor's office. The follow-up appointment he had pushed back for weeks. Just routine, he told Kyle. But behind those words was a quiet anxiety that had been growing louder in the stillness of his nights. Mauricio and Kyle laughing on the RHOBH set, surrounded by their daughters. For decades, Mauricio has been the image of strength, the calm anchor in the middle of Bravo chaos, the man who built an empire from nothing and still came home to cook dinner with his girls. But that morning, the illusion of calm began to crack. Kyle Richards, sitting at the kitchen counter, noticed it first, the way he labored over his phone, how his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Is everything okay?" she asked, voice careful but weighted with concern. Mauricio hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, it's probably nothing." But the human heart knows when something is wrong, and Kyle could feel it. By mid-morning, Mauricio was at the clinic, his mind still half in work mode, thinking about showings, phone calls, and a deal he was supposed to close that afternoon. The doctor entered, a folder in hand, his face unreadable. The air changed before a single word was spoken. "Mauricio," he began, "we've noticed some irregularities in your scans. We need to run additional tests, immediately." The word immediately hit like cold water. Mauricio nodded, silent. He wasn't thinking about his health. He was thinking about his daughters, about the meetings on his calendar, and about Kyle, who was waiting for a call that would change the rest of their day. When you've been together as long as we have, you start believing that nothing can really shake you. You think you've seen it all. But then life reminds you that control is an illusion. By the afternoon, Mauricio's tests revealed what doctors called an aggressive irregularity. The phrasing was cold, clinical, but the meaning underneath it was anything but. Within hours, he was admitted for further observation. Kyle arrived just before sunset, her car parked hastily in the loading zone. She moved through the hospital halls like someone trying not to wake a dream, every step measured, every breath too shallow. When she saw him lying in that hospital bed, the man she had known since her 20s looked suddenly small against the pale sheets. She reached for his hand, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're going to get through this, Mo." He smiled faintly, the same calm expression that had sold 1,000 homes, but his eyes told another story. RHOBH Mauricio Umansky hospitalized after sudden health scare. Kyle Richards seen leaving Cedars-Sinai in tears. Fans rally around RHOBH power couple amid scary update. The private suddenly became public. Within hours, the story was everywhere, from gossip sites to morning shows. Images of Kyle, her sunglasses barely hiding the redness in her eyes, flooded the internet. For fans who had watched their marriage unfold for years, it was heartbreaking. Kyle's publicist issued a brief statement. "Mauricio is receiving care and surrounded by family. The family appreciates privacy and prayers during this time. But in an age where privacy is a luxury, every expression, every silence, became a headline. In the intensive care unit, time moves differently. Days feel longer and nights stretch endlessly. The sterile air is filled with the hum of machines, the quiet shuffle of nurses, and the muffled prayers of loved ones." Mauricio's daughters visited in waves. Alexia brought him a baseball cap and joked that he should wear it like a true Beverly Hills boss. Sofia sat quietly by his side, scrolling through photos on her phone, family vacations, birthday dinners, laughter frozen in time. Farah, his eldest, tried to keep things practical, calling doctors, making notes, keeping everyone informed. But beneath the calm, there was a breaking heart. Kyle stayed by his bed every night, reading from old scripts, sometimes reciting funny lines from RHOBH just to make him smile. One evening, she said softly, "Remember that time you burnt the steak trying to impress Lisa Vanderpump?" Mauricio chuckled weakly. "Yeah, and she still told me it was undercooked." That brief laughter, small but real, felt like defiance. Support poured in from everywhere, colleagues, fans, even other housewives. Dorrit Kemsley sent flowers. Andy Cohen dedicated a segment on Watch What Happens Live, saying, "We're all thinking of Mo tonight." The days that followed were quiet, not silent. Hospitals are never truly silent, but filled with a softer kind of noise. The beeping monitors, the shuffle of shoes, the faint hum of air conditioning. Mauricio had always said he liked the noise of life, the sound of people moving, the city's rhythm. But here, even the smallest sounds carried weight. Kyle often sat in the corner of his room, her phone face down, ignoring the constant buzz of messages. Friends were worried, castmates reached out, and news outlets begged for statements. But she stayed still, holding his hand, tracing circles on his palm, as though that small touch could anchor him to her. The day they bought their first home, Mauricio teaching the girls how to surf in Malibu, Kyle hosting Sunday dinners where laughter echoed through every room. Those memories flooded back to her, uninvited but comforting. The years they had built together, the shows, the business, the spotlight, all seemed irrelevant now. What mattered was this moment, just him, breathing, fighting. Doctors came and went, their voices professional, cautious. They used words like stabilizing and monitoring. To the outside world, that might sound reassuring. But Kyle learned that in medicine, reassurance is often a fragile thread, easily snapped. The family gathered again. Alexia brought a small speaker and played one of Mauricio's favorite songs, Hotel California. It played softly, the guitar riff echoing off the tiled walls. Mauricio smiled faintly, whispering, "You're all crazy for bringing music into a hospital." Kyle laughed through her tears. "You love it," she whispered back. That night, he talked more than he had all week. About the girls, the agency, even about the upcoming Buying Beverly Hills season. He joked that maybe this was the first time he actually got to rest without his phone. It was light-hearted, but beneath the humor, there was a shared awareness that nothing felt guaranteed. Fans send love to Kyle and Mauricio during health crisis. RHOBH cast members rally around the Umansky family. Lisa Vanderpump shares a message, "Hold on to hope." Narrator. The story had reached every corner of the Bravo world. Colleagues, co-stars, even old acquaintances spoke up. Erica Jane shared a message online, a rare tender post that read simply, "Sending strength to Kyle. Stay strong, Mo." For once, the drama was put aside. The gossip gave way to grace. Cut to Kyle's interview clip, her sitting in a quiet studio months later. Kyle, clip. "I think when something like this happens, it strips you bare. You see who really shows up, who calls, who sits with you in silence. Mauricio and I, we've been through so much, the fame, the rumors, the distance. But that week reminded me that at the core, we're still family." By the end of the week, Mauricio's doctors delivered cautious optimism. The irregularities had been addressed. There would be a long road ahead, treatment, recovery, and careful monitoring. But for now, he was out of immediate danger. The relief that washed over the family was indescribable. Kyle wept silently into his shoulder, her tears soaking into his gown. "You scared me," she whispered. Mauricio smiled. "Guess I still know how to make headlines." She laughed, a sound both broken and beautiful. Reporters stood at a distance, filming as Kyle exited the hospital. But this time, there were no sunglasses, no attempt to hide. She waved softly to fans who had left flowers by the gate, mouthing a simple thank you. The couple who had built their lives under constant attention suddenly became symbols of vulnerability and resilience. It wasn't about fame anymore. It was about survival, about love that refused to give up. Weeks later, home once again filled with the noise Mauricio loved. The clinking of dishes, the dogs barking, laughter bouncing off the walls. His health was improving, slowly but surely. Kyle began filming again for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, her energy quieter, more grounded. When asked how she was coping, she said softly, "We're taking it one day at a time. That's all anyone can do." The fans noticed the change. The confidence was still there, but there was a new layer, a calmness that came from having nearly lost everything. Mauricio, meanwhile, returned to the agency part-time, surprising his staff with visits, cracking jokes, and reminding everyone that gratitude is the greatest luxury of all. In Beverly Hills, appearances are everything, until they're not. When life demands honesty, no designer label or million-dollar listing can shield you from what's real. For Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky, this chapter wasn't about celebrity, wealth, or status. It was about rediscovering the quiet truth that's easy to forget in the spotlight, that love, in its simplest form, is what saves us.